Why does everything has to be this difficult? Hello everybody, my name is Marco Bagnoli and today we talk about night exteriors. The most difficult thing for a cinematographer that you can do, because you don't want a lot of noise, you want something interesting to look at. In this video I'm going to demonstrate you a lot of techniques that you can use at night, how to light professionally a night exterior scene to have that professional look. And the first thing you're probably noticing is, okay, this shot looks really clean, it looks dark, that is how I imagine dark scenery. But when you probably do it, it looks different. Why does it look different? And the reason is ambience. To light an outdoor scene, when you're using FX3 or something like that, you just boost your ISO. You go somewhere, boost the ISO to get a nice exposure on the whole scenery, and you light a little bit the actor. The problem with this technique is that you shift your dynamic range. A lot of people think, okay, night means high ISO. So we go 3200 or 12,800. But the problem with this is, that's not 12,800, is your dynamic range shifts. The higher you go, the more information you have in the highlights and less in the shadows. So our goal is, most of the time, to create so much light in the scenery that we can use a lower ISO like 400, 200, because now we get a lot of clean shadow detail. And I'll show you how you get this. So the first trick is, when you don't have a lot of shots or you're shooting outside, try to get blue hour. Blue hour feels like night, but it isn't night. It's the fast window of 20 minutes before the sun goes down, where you have this nice blue shimmer of color across the whole scenery. It will feel like light. And this blue gives you a nice little bit of ambience across the whole image. So it's not pitch black. And this is directly one of the most biggest tricks you can do, because nothing looks worse than black sky without nothing. It just feels cheap. The reason why it feels cheap is because it has no information. Your camera cannot handle just black, because there's nothing. It's boring. No one looks at the black paint and think, wow, that looks cool. No. So we want to get this blue hour. But you cannot shoot a whole scenery in blue hour because it's only 20 minutes. So what we can also do is the most cheap way you can do it. You need a crane where you put a butterfly above the scenery, and into that butterfly you're shooting a big light or two big lights to get a little bit of source. And now your light comes down on the whole scenery. This light is probably in front of the actor. With this light, the whole ground and everything around it gets a nicer ambience. It gets bounce. Put this on a really cool temperature because you want to simulate the moonlight a little bit more. Now we have a base light. It still feels like night. It will magically look for daytime, because the light comes from above, and that's where the light should came from, in an empty night somewhere on a parking lot. This is the first trick you can use to bring down your exposure and not use this high ISOs. Next thing to make your footage look more professional at night, it's night. Make it look night. I see a lot of night scenes where they push the ISO and exposure so much that it's balanced like a daytime shot. It's not a daytime shot. You want to make it look darker. So your highlights should feel low in the lower end of your waveform, and the ground and the walls. You don't want the same exposure as you use on daylight, because it will look cheap. It doesn't feel like night anymore. It just feels like a really bright, it's difficult to explain, but it doesn't feel right. So try to be on the lower end on the waveform still. Then one of the most important things, composition. What I mean with composition, you have to have highlight interest into your scenery. Because I told you before, dark things in an image, boo. Bright things in an image, yeah. That's the reason you choose a frame. We have as much light sources as possibly possible, because it makes the image feel more alive. Also, you have different light sources. You have this blue one, then this warm one, which also creates nice color contrast. Cars are always also a natural way to create a little bit more exposure and interest in sceneries, because car lights are common. So it's not something that feels fake or unreal. Also a great tool to when you have a walking shot and just a few steps that they walk through the light, that they get a bit of interesting and a few meters when they walk around. Then next thing what they did here is also pretty cool is they put them into a silhouette. What I mean with that is, I told you before, there's probably a big light coming from the top, filling out the scenery. It also could be not. It really depends on the location, the art, but most of the time that is how I would do it. Or you would backlit the whole scenery, which means you would put also a light or a lot of lights as high as possible and blast it across the scenery so that you extend your moonlight and your exposure a lot across the whole scenery so that you have an area where you can walk and there's always a motivation where the light is coming from. It doesn't look like they've done it here. So he only gets the reflections from the wall and everything across that so that he creates another layer. Always think it's nice. We still have to work in layer. So they put him dark and our focus should be on the cave C. The next thing what really helps at night is rain, wet floor. Because wet floor reflects light so that the frame doesn't just stop at the ground, it will extend to the ground. So we have a more three-dimensional feeling. But a wet down is most of the time pretty difficult because you need a lot of water and you have to keep pouring then so that the ground is wet. But it's also for studio-like scenarios where you just want to make the scene feel a little bit bigger. It's always a great tool. How do you get rain in scenery like this? There are different ways where you can do it. You not 90% of the time, but you have to hire someone to do it because you need pumps that really strong and also for a big area. I never done it, have rains on this big of a scenery. Most of the time it's for a small area and it's as easy as you can imagine. This is most of the time big long pipe which are on pumps where there's a big water source on it and it just pours out of it and it rains down. You put it really high and that's just it. And when you want to do a bigger area, you probably have to do more of them. But it's also very limited. It depends on the pumps that they have with it, how high they can go, because you still need a lot of power to do it. So this is a shot from the inside. And as you can see, we still use the same techniques here. So the next thing you have to always look for are light motivations at night. He stands on the window. So what light should he get? Could be the light from the interior, just a warm light source, but also we have a lot of red LEDs and maybe this one looks cooler. It also helps to pick up the color palette of KFC. So we put this neon signs in the way. Now we have a reason to light him red. Just writing red with no context wouldn't look good. So we have to put something in there that you have an argument to light him red. Also know, as you saw before, on the shot, he was a pure silhouette. But now in the close-up somehow gets this nice moonlight across them. And that's what I mean with don't care too much for lighting continuity because you light per shot. When the mood and the overall sense of the scene feels the same, you don't have to follow the same light logic. If you would do this every time, your lighting wouldn't look as good. So don't do it. Don't let everyone tell you something else. Try to make every single frame most of the time as good as possible. So because there's a big light source and background, you can do a lot of things here. You can just blast a 600, something with diffusion. You can use a carpet light. It doesn't matter. Only thing is matter that you hit both shoulders and the head. Don't just do a backlight of one side that is not anymore state of the art. Just try to hit both so that you get this nice blue silhouette on him. Also, rain needs to be backlit, that you can see it. Without a backlight, you wouldn't see the rain. And it also picks really nice, this blue color. And blue and red are also two colors that really work nice together. Also, as you can see, the composition is really good because we have interest in the background. It's not just black, we have this nice light sources. Sometimes when you don't have a light in the background, you can just put a small RGB light on a C-stand, go far away and just blast it into the scene that you have something. It's so far away, it's so far out of focus, no one will think this is a set light and think this is just some street lamp. Now we are in the KFC and now we have nice layering. We have this woman in the foreground eating her burger with a warm key light. And then we go into the background in this cold area where he stands in. And it's a really nice way to tell something with colors, because in there, we have this cozy feeling. It really picks up also the color of the burger and the food. And the guy is just desperate on the outside with this cold rain hitting in, just wants to eat a burger like this. And this is our job as a cinematographer. Use every possible method we have with colors, composition to tell a story. Your goal is always show, not tell. When you show something, it's always better than to tell something. And with this shot, you tell the whole story. No, don't need a voiceover explaining, oh, this guy really wanted burger and he's very desperate. No, everything is done with color theory, composition, and storytelling. So if you enjoyed this video, I really like a subscription from you. My name is Marco Magnoli, and see you next time.